To begin with, let's consider the product of two positive numbers. So we're going to have a positive number multiplying a positive number. And to do this, let's suppose that we multiply together 3 and 5. So 3 times 5, this means, all right, here's what it means. It means we have 5 appearing 3 times. 3 times 5, so we have 5 plus 5 plus 5, which we know to be 15. And what we see here is that 5 appears 3 times, so that's why we say 3 times 5. And this suggests that, okay, 3 is positive, 5 is positive, and the result over here, 15, that's positive. So this suggests that a positive times a positive is positive. Now, suppose we multiply together 3 and negative 5 this time. Oh, God. So now we've got a positive times a positive is a positive. Let's consider now the product of a positive number and a negative number. Let's multiply 3 and negative 5 this time. So what this means is we have that we're saying that negative 5 appears 3 times, right? 3 times negative 5. We have 3 of those negative 5s. So what we have is negative 5 plus negative 5 plus negative 5. And now we're adding 3 sign numbers that all have the same sign. So we just add their absolute values. 5, 5, 5. We get 15. And attach the common sign. So we're going to get negative 15. So this suggests that we have a positive times a negative, and that gives us a negative. So what we've got is that a positive number times a negative number is negative, but multiplication is commutative. That means we can change the order. You know, like 3 times 4 is the same as 4 times 3. So what we're going to get out of this one now is if we change the order, we'll get a negative times a positive. Well, that's also negative. So what we want to do now is we want to see what should this be here. If I take a negative number and multiply it by a negative number, what should this be? Well, here's how we can think about this. Let's look at a pattern here. What if we take a look at this? Say, I'm just making these numbers up now, but I'm going to write a pattern. 4 times negative 2, 3 times negative 2, 2 times negative 2, 1 times negative 2. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just multiplying negative 2's by 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm decreasing this multiplier by 1. Now, we know what these products are, right? We have a positive times a negative, and by the rule we just developed, that's going to be a negative. So this is negative 8. This is negative 6, negative 4, and negative 2. Now, let's just keep our pattern here going. We're decreasing by 1. So 4, 3, 2, 1. The next number would be 0 times negative 2. And we know that 0 times any number is just 0. Let's keep our pattern going, right? Decrease by 1. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Now what we're going to get here is negative 1 times negative 2. And then decrease by 1. Negative 2 times negative 2. Negative 3 times negative 2, and so on. Now let's look at our pattern here. As this number here, the multiplier, decreases by 1, these products, the results are increasing by 2, right? Negative 8, 2 more is negative 6, up it by 2, negative 4, increased by 2, negative 2, increased by 2 is 0. And if we increase this one by 2, we should be here at 2. Increase 2 by 2, we'll get 4. And then increase by 2 again, we'll get 6. And this suggests that a negative times a negative should be a positive. So now we've got 4 rules for multiplying sign numbers. Let's summarize them. If we take a positive, multiply it by a positive, we get a positive back. And the one we just developed was this one. A negative number times a negative number, that's also positive. But then if we have opposite signs, like a positive times a negative, that gives us a negative. And a negative times a positive, that's also a negative. So here's our actual rules for multiplying sign numbers. So to multiply two real numbers now, two real numbers that have the same sign, that would be this group over here, what we're going to do is we multiply their absolute values and the result of the product is positive. Let's try a couple. Let's try this. Number one, let's go with 8 times 6. Now both these are positive, so we're going to multiply their absolute values. Now I'm doing this, we all know what 8 times 6 is. It's 48, but by the rule, it's going to be the absolute value of 8 is 8, the absolute value of 6 is 6. We multiply these together, 8 times 6. Now it looks like the original problem here, which it is, because this one's so elementary, and we get 48, and the result is positive. So what we're going to conclude now is that 8 times 6 is 48. Now let's try another one here. How about if we try negative 8 times negative 6? Now by the rule, we're going to take the absolute values. The absolute value of negative 8 is 8. The absolute value of negative 6 is 6. Multiply their absolute values. 8 times 6 is 48. And the result, the product, according to the rule, the product is positive. So our result is positive. So we're going to say now that negative 8 times negative 6 is positive 48. So here's our other rule. That's going to be this one over here. So over here now, to multiply two real numbers that have opposite signs, that's this case over here, right? Opposite signs. You multiply their absolute values, and the result is negative. Let's try a few. Just a couple will do. So how about, let's make this one number 3, and we can try this. What if we tried negative 4 times 7? So we're going to take two numbers with opposite signs, right? A negative and a positive, and multiply them together. So according to the rule, we multiply their absolute values. So what we're going to get here is the absolute value of negative 4 is 4. The absolute value of 7 is 7. And if we multiply these absolute values, we'll get 4 times 7 is 28. But the product is negative. So we're going to now conclude that negative 4 times positive 7 is negative 28. Let's try another one here. Let's go with number 4, and let's try this. How about 6 times negative 3? So we'll have a positive number times a negative number. So what do? We multiply their absolute values. So let's get their absolute values. The absolute value of 6 is 6. Absolute value of negative 3 is 3. We'll multiply the absolute value. 6 times 3, that'll give us 18. But the product, remember, is negative. So now we'll conclude that 6 times negative 3 is negative 18.